What's up, everybody? And today we're reacting to something that I'm very interested in. This is every piece of gear in an Army Cavalry Scout 72-hour bag loadout. I'm very excited for this video because I had a question not long ago about what do you put in a bug out bag or a day sack or something like that. And I responded with it being very situational, right? If you're in a cold climate, you're probably going to want some warm socks in there, or at least a spare pair of socks, some warm clothes, waterproofs. But if you're in like a cold climate, a warm climate, you're probably looking at more like extra water, things to keep you hydrated, things to keep the sun off you. I think all around, you're probably going to have some survival stuff in there. Things like water purification. Some people put condoms in to be able to hold water. Be surprised how much water a condom can hold. Things to light fires like flint and stuff. So that's what I'm expecting. Maybe a bit of comms, maybe a bit of rations. 72 hours, so you're going to have a bit of food in there. But I'm excited to see this. It also lets me see some of the US Army's gear, because I don't really know much about the US Army's actual gear they get issued. So I'm interested in that, and I'm also interested to see if they have any personal belongings in there. I know us in the Royal Marines, we get issued stuff. We call them pussers stuff. But we also buy our own gear. Like we buy like a little jet boil. We'll buy little things like that. So I'm interested to see what's in their day sack or their 72-hour bag. I would do a question of the day, but I don't have one. If you want your question answered, leave it in the comment section down below, starting with question, colon, and then your question, and then I can search for them and answer them for you. But let's get right into it. Oh, if you want to buy some merch, link down below, go check it out. Let's pop this up and let's have a cheeky peek. This is by Business Insider. They always do brilliant military stuff, so I'm really excited for this.
My name is Staff Sergeant Jeffrey Haynes. Today I'm going to go over the loadout bag for Army Cavalry Scout, also known as a 72-hour bag. Army Cavalry Scout is the eyes and ears of the battlefield. We go out behind enemy lines and we report all information to the commander.
Kind of like recce troop, right? We have a recce troop, or you get dedicated people to do some recce like work, some reconnaissance. Basically go out, scout the area. I think the way we did it was sometimes there's a dedicated recce troop. Sometimes we would just send people out on OPs or recces, depending on like the situation. Again, it's all situational, right? But yeah, this must be just the US version of that.
So that the ground commander can make the best decision to fight the fight. So
yeah.
In the bag, you will have some of your sustainment items.
So it looks like, it looks like a day sack, or what we would call a day sack. And we also have a Bergen, which is your big bag with all your gear in.
Such as your MREs, or your, also known as your meals ready to eat.
So rations, for anyone in the UK, rations.
All right, they all come in bags. You just open up the bag and you can eat however you need to.
Do you have a preference of MRE?
Beef shredded barbecue sauce.
Why is that your favorite?
Because it comes with an awesome cookie.
Do you know the ones, I don't know if they do anymore, the ones in the UK, they came in like a square box. And there were some really disgusting ones in there. But they'd always come with like a Yorkie in it. Or at least they did for a little bit. Like, they started introducing that when I was in training. And that was, like, the best thing about them. The Yorkie.
Really good cookie. And then in my other pouch that I always have ready to go, I have my map markers. It allows us to draw out the graphics for all the operational portion of the mission.
Yeah, so it's like a recce troop. They're going to have to keep an eye out what's going on. And with that, you can't just rely on memory. So you got to write things down. You got to have a notebook. You got to have a map so you can put things on there and bring it back and show it to your superior officers.
This is just basic notes.
Yeah.
So if I ever forget my formulas, it's just something to have all my formulas in. Has my range cards, all my just don't forget stuff.
Brilliant.
And then in my Ziploc bag, I'll usually have my graphics. I keep it in a Ziploc bag so if it rains, it doesn't get destroyed by the moisture.
Of course.
So this right here is what it'll...
Everything. So we learned that everything in your day sack and in your Bergen has to be waterproof. It's not just a few little things. Everything has to be waterproof, whether it's using bags like that, like just little Ziploc bags, or canoe bags or something like that. I bought a set of really nice canoe bags. Highly recommend them. If you're really into kind of survival and stuff like that, they're fantastic waterproof bags, and they're so resilient and durable. You get with your day sack, the new day sack, when we first got the new multicam, there was a canoe bag that came with, it was the size of the day sack. So you would just like open it up, and that's what we ended up buying. Like for our massive Bergens, just get a massive canoe bag that's the same size of it, so you could put everything in and then waterproof it. But you still have to remember, some training teams in training, make you waterproof everything individually. Every pair of socks, every pair of underwear, all individually, so that if something leaks, it's fine. But my God, it's a lot of admin.
A basic map would look like with some graphics. These are your NAIs, your enemy positions, the routes, and the boundaries. I got my protractor, so when I need to get grid coordinates or I need to plot my directions, I can know how far I need to go with the protractor. There's a lot of math with a Cavalry Scout. You gotta know the radius of the curve, the grade of the slope. Next would be calculator. This right here will allow us to rapidly get the correct answer.
Fantastic. It's just basically he's got all the gear he needs to be able to calculate exactly where people are, where they are, what they need to do, and how to report that back to the superior officers. Great bit of kit.
Then I have your notepad and pen, so you can copy down reports and you can receive all the information that comes through the radio.
It's one of them, like, I hated them, like, waterproof notepads. I hate them. I hate them.
You'll have your night light with red lens. You have to use red lens at night because white light will travel further.
So I was going to say that red light for everything, even to the point of if you're looking at your map, you would shine your torch through your thumb and kind of hold your thumb right up to the map and look at it. Red light's harder to see. It doesn't travel as far at night. You made that valid point right there. We learned that in basic training. Very important. A lot of people would literally just buy headlamps and get like a red marker and color it in and use it like that.
Then red lens. That way you're not detected. Because as a Cavalry Scout, you got to move undetected behind enemy lines.
Yep.
And then you'll have extra batteries for the headlamp.
Yep.
Because again, this is a 72-hour bag, so you have to ensure that you can sustain yourself for 72 hours.
So far, this has been very similar to just a day sack in the Royal Marines. Like, very simple, almost identical, I could say.
Then you got your face paint. This is what you'll apply on your face, your hands, your neck, your ears, everywhere. That way you are not detected so easily.
So Cam Cream, it's funny, Jendit was on a live stream. Shout out to Jendit if you're watching this. He was on a live stream and we were talking about Cam Cream and how, like, that you'd have to like scrape it off with like a Brillo pad. It was so hard. And he was saying how people in the military now have like the nice stuff that just comes off really easily. But for us, we had to like scrape, we'd like red raw our skin from scraping it off. But he's like, yeah, the new stuff, it just comes right off. Unbelievable. Back in my day.
So it gives you your direction in degrees and mils. And then there's two methods to hold this. Compass to cheek, center hold method. So normally what I'll do is I'll hold it up, put it up against my face, I'll get my degrees and I'll look through my front aperture, see what it's pointing at. If it's pointing at a tree, I'm heading to that tree. Yep. And the center hold method is just straight out in front of you. The black line right here tells you which way you're going.
So I highly recommend for anyone who doesn't know this already, if you're going into the military, if you're not in the military, a good bit of survival information is how to use a compass and a map. Like, I think it's a solid bit of kit that you can throw in your day sack, or if you're going out, you know, on a yomp, if you're going out hiking at a national park, something that civvies do all the time, take a compass and map, learn how to navigate, because you never know if you'll get lost. And it's a really important key skill that can be, you know, used forever.
And then in the main pouch, I keep my E-tool.
Entrenching tool.
Entrenching tool.
Yep.
That way, when I gotta dig my fighting positions or if I have to bury booby traps or anything like that, I have my tool.
That looks almost identical to the ones we had.
Needed. So you extend it all the way out.
I think it is identical.
And then you just tighten down at the handle.
Yep. It looks identical. Ours was green though.
Like a shovel. It has some sharp and rigid edges, so you can cut down barks, trees. You cut down all that stuff so that you can improve your observation post, your OPs.
Yep.
Could that also be used as a last resort weapon?
It could, in some sense.
There are reports, and I'm not going to say who and when and what, but I know of some people, or there was someone, an older gentleman who was higher up in the ranks where I were at, who was heard of, like, at the Falklands War, using an entrenching tool as a weapon. So yeah, it can be used as a weapon.
That's why there's another configuration that is this. If you need to, you could use it as a weapon if need be. I was just having this configuration and hit. Then you got your binos. You got your M22 binos. This right here allows you to see the enemy at a further distance.
They're massive. Look at the size of them binos. Surely they'd be able to give us some better ones than that. I know issued stuff isn't necessarily always as good as like civvy stuff. Binos. Did we have binos? I don't think I ever had any binos. I know that, in fact, I remember what it was, is we had binos similar to that, but we never got issued them individually. They were kind of like, here, take these binos with you on this recce or this OP or whatever. I don't specifically remember. Oh, for the most part, no, we didn't even use that. I'm pretty sure we just used our scopes on our weapons. Obviously, if you're a dedicated recce troop, you're going to need your own set of binos. They're massive. I'd get smaller ones than them, personally. This is your day sack. This is your 72-hour bag. It needs to be light and it needs to be nimble so you can get up and go on fast pace. They're massive. They're massive. They might be durable. They might be standard issue. I don't know what the relation is between the US military and being able to buy your own gear. But I would have bought something smaller than that, personally.
And before they see you. You can also use these binos as a cavalry scout for a call for fire. This is where you call in artillery. This is your ASIP radio. This
Interesting.
Is what we use.
Didn't really say anything then more about that then, did he? But I'm intrigued what he meant about them. Is there some sort of tool inside them binos that helps with that?
The scouts, this is our primary weapon. Because if we don't have radio, we cannot be the eyes and ears of the battlefield.
That, again, is very similar to the radios we had. Or it looks like it. We did a lot of radio training, but it was like one of my weakest things that I was good at. Like, I was terrible at the radio. I was terrible on radio, on comms, just because I was always messing it up. Like, I always got out of order, and I tried to practice it a lot, but I couldn't. And there's a lot of different configurations you have to press on the thing, and it was just my young brain trying to soak up all the stuff you do learn in Royal Marines training. That was just one thing I couldn't soak up. But the radio looks very similar.
We cannot communicate. Communication is key as a cavalry scout. My hand mic, this allows me to talk into the radio and listen. I got my long whip antenna. This allows the radio to get the signal required. You can extend this antenna out, just like tent poles.
Yep. So this is obviously for comms. We also had our own little personal communications device, like really small earpiece and a little kind of, they look like little blocks that you just put on your webbing. This is talking about actual comms that goes long distance, and we did use that for some aspects in training, but just not as much as just the small devices.
That way, you can reach further with your signal. So on the ASIP, the first thing you do is you need to make sure it has a battery. So the battery depends on what power on the radio. If you're on high, one battery can get you 8 to 10 hours. If you're on low, it can usually last you about 12 hours of battery. Put the cover on, secure it down. First thing I would normally do is I'd put the antenna in.
So these comms devices are very important, and I remember when we would use them in some of the final exercises of training, or even when I was at a unit, they would go to a secure location after they'd been used, and something to do with the decryption and stuff like that was all very safe and like very secure, and like they would all go to one place and no one was able to go and see how they were. That's what I remember anyway.
You just twist it around until you find it straight, and it just slides right in, and then you start screwing down. Once it's in, I do a little shake, because if your antenna is loose, you won't get good signal. Next thing you want to do is you want to plug in your hand mic. So inside the hand mic port, there's a little rubber seal. You do have to wet it before you get it on, because you need that rubber seal to be lubricated to slide correctly onto the port.
See, this is getting to a little bit more detail now that I've not seen.
Locks in. And then in my
all right, let's see what else you got.
rucksack, I will have my wet weather bag. The wet weather bag prevents all my uniform pieces from getting wet or anything from spilling out, so it's not a mess in my bag.
So yeah, again, my recommendation is that it all is waterproof, all of it.
I always have extra boots, because as a cavalry scout, you will walk a lot, so you always.
See, I get that for recce troop. We had extra boots in our Bergen. I don't know whether I would have put them in my day sack though. But then again, this is 72-hour bag. It's not a day sack, so.
Always need a pair of boots. I'll have an extra uniform.
Yep.
Always set up, ready to go. So depending on the temperature, I'll bring out seasonal gear so I ensure I don't get sick or cold.
Yep.
Or in some cases wet if it's rainy. These are my waffle tops and bottoms.
Interesting.
So
oh, thermals, okay.
I'll have extra t-shirts and I'll have extra socks.
Always gotta have
As
extra
an Delta
socks.
Cavalry Scout, I'll be using a radio as my main weapon. But this will be my alternate weapon in case the enemy gets too close. The M4 is a 5.56 millimeter magazine fed, gas operated, semi-automatic or fully automatic handheld shoulder fired weapon. When all this is packed back into operation configuration, it is approximately 30 to 35 pounds.
Yeah,
this is all the bare minimum stuff I will have in my pack at all times. I can always add to depending on.
So let me just go back there. I know it's not really fair. I just want to look at this. So this is more like a day sack, I would say, for the Royal Marines. I feel like in our Bergen, we'd probably just have a little bit more. We'd have our sleeping bag. We'd have a poncho. We'd have, you know, all these extra little bits that just make life comfy out in the field a little bit more. But at the same time, if we were going doing recce, you would take just a day sack and go and crack on with that. Comms, obviously, is one big thing. There wouldn't be a... So, like... I didn't do many recce's outside of training because that's not something I got pinged for or I was part of. I wasn't in a recce troop or anything like that. But you do, like, practice recce's in training, and one person would have comms, right? So if there was, like, 2 of you or 3 of you or whatever, one person would have the comms. The other person would hold other stuff that maybe needed, extra rations, extra ammo, all these other little bits that probably weigh up to about the same weight as comms. 30 to 35 pounds, maybe 40 pounds if you're pushing it, was probably about right of what a day sack is. Bergen's a lot heavier. You're looking at 50, 60 pounds for a Bergen. But, I mean, everything there's pretty identical to what we would have. It doesn't surprise me. The US and the UK are very close allies, so we trade information. But that looks like a solid bit of kit, and I actually really, really enjoyed this video. If you've got more videos like this, let me know in the comments. And if also... My biggest question about this is the binos. If anyone's had any experience with that, are you able to buy your own? Like, because they look big and clunky and a bit unnecessary. So let me know in the comments what you think about that. Also, if you're in the UK military and you've tried the new cam cream, let me know what that's like, because I'm jealous. I'm very jealous. Members, you're beautiful. You're amazing. I love you. I couldn't do this without you. Honestly, I couldn't make videos every single day if it wasn't for these beautiful people right here. So thank you for supporting the channel as much as you do. I really appreciate it. Members, genuinely. Thank you. You're awesome. You genuinely are. Thank you. Links down below to all my socials, including my merch. Check it out. Buy it if you can. You get a private video sent to you by me. It's a ton of fun. Other than that, there'll be a link down below to the OG video. I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.